Hello guys, I have decided to launch an Age of Empires 4 related series in an educational style that should help newcomers get more into the game. It is less valuable for experienced players, where I'm trying to sort of explain constantly what I'm doing. And I know many people are doing this, but only for one or two videos. I'm aiming to do a lot of these videos whenever I have the time. So you can learn from repetition or maybe learn new stuff in every video or something like that. Regarding the opponent, I am going to play against the outrageous AI, which is one level below absurd. The reason for that is that it still provides a good challenge. It is less exploitable, or how to say, than their lower level counterparts, but I can still maintain the tutoring style throughout the video, I think. So it's not like absurd where you have to really focus on everything at the same time. Alright, so let's get started. Since this video had an introduction, I'm going to touch the basic controls of the game in the second video's beginning, and also I have a dedicated part for it near the end. So, since we are just chilling until feudal age, I will just speed up time, cut a bit out. Alright, I have cut out maybe 1 minute from the game. As you can see, I already have made some control groups here that I can use to do several tasks, and I instantly mess it up. You see, I used 2 control groups to build the landmark, and another control group to start cutting wood for me. Now, it's important to do some basic math and to leave at least 4 on food with most civilizations in order to maintain villager production. It's very important to always produce villagers. You must not skip villager production when you age up or whatever else. No, it must be constant. It must be always happening. So even if you're a bit, let's say, shaky around that, you can leave at least 5 then on food to make sure that you will not run out of food. And it is always a very delicate matter how many villagers should be on what resource, because you don't want to float on anything too much. Since in this video we will go longbowman plus barracks combination, altogether it should be something of an even number of people on food and on wood, with a bit leaning for food, because we still need food for villagers as well, and not only for military. It is also very important not to not pop cap yourself, which I'm going to do, I think once or twice in the video or whatever. But as you can see, you don't have instantly access to resources to build an adequate amount of units in the very beginning. It is unnecessary to build it with this many villagers, as I'm doing in this video, because I won't have a lot of wood to produce multiple units at the same time. I just wanted to rush the barracks a bit so he doesn't put down a stable and make my life miserable by killing my 1 or 2 longbow that is arriving there shortly. But as we can see, he doesn't have stables. Of course I'm seeing the map, but you can easily overcome this obstacle by just using your scout to run circles around his base or whatever else. But we are not going to turn the camera all the way up and down to see what is happening. Alright, So the longbows are starting to come over there, and our spearmen are arriving shortly after them. We are just trying to make them stand their guard just outside the TC range. Since longbowmen have a very good range, they can easily shoot villagers that are not on sheep. They can reach everything else, basically. You see, I have already popcapped myself, which you shouldn't do. Since 3 longbowmen deal so much damage, I can easily overcome his 2 archers, and I can then continue to terrorize his villagers on the wood. I'm giving them a shift command to stand their ground, so they are not moving, which, as you can see, if you're not looking there for a second, can become problematic. Now, longbowmen have a slower movement speed than spearmen, so they are going to die, but it's whatever. I'm not even trying to micro them to move, to maybe land in a shot or two. Losing the scout is a big problem by default, but because we are not having problem with vision, it's whatever. As we can see, he only has spearmen and archers, which means that we can spam archers only, because pure archers will defeat spearmen archers. The reason for that is that archers counter spearmen, and archers don't counter archers. And he made a very big mistake by coming under my TC. Unarmored units drop very quickly below TC. And I'm trying to aim for a second TC now, while trying to terrorize his units again. And he is left without an army, so this is going to be much easier for me from now on. Regarding how can you make villagers constantly, you can just sometimes either check the bottom left corner or just out of muscle memory or so just press the TC button and press the villager button. It will never hurt you if you queue up a villager or two, so feel free to do so. As you can see, I have an even amount of workers on wood and food until recently. Whenever you are starting to float on wood, you can make your current food workers start building farms with English, because farms are very cheap for them and they are collecting faster from farms. As you can see, I'm accumulating quite a big army around here, and he is not going to the other forest on the other side of his base, which means I can pick his villagers quite easily. I know that archers are countering spearmen, but due to the sheer amount of units I have, I didn't want to somehow evenly trade out my longbowmen for his archers and juggernautes. So I'm going to send all of my units in a second. They would kill a lot of my longbowses if my spearman wouldn't intervene. Since he's still not making any horses, I can afford to lose some spearmen in the process. As you can see, I have lost a very little amount of units in the process due to just the raw overpowering in sheer strength. And this match is basically won already. I'm dropping down the TC just in case. I forgot to make them stand ground. He's pretty much just throwing in villagers and units one by one into the meat grinder, so this match is pretty much over. Anyway, the way you can finish matches from this point on is the following. I have cut out another 1.5 minutes of the video. Well, basically you just need to drop down a workshop and research that infantry can build rams and just ram his base. That's it. Pretty much let that upgrade finish and just start building rams in the front line with your infantry and just go for it with like 5 or 6 rams. Congratulations, on to the next match. Let's talk about keybinds for a bit because they are very important. Just look how the match starts, the first 5 seconds. You're gonna see villagers being built, scouts starting to move, and the villagers doing their job. What they are supposed to do. I would suggest that you have a button to select all your TC, because select all landmark with some civilizations doesn't work for town centers, which means that even though you have multiple town centers, pressing the select all landmarks plus town center button is just going to select the landmarks. I'm not sure how it works exactly, but anyway. What I did in the start was select my town center, queued up villagers, selected my next scout, started to move around for sheep, selected all my idle workers, send them to food, and then I selected a random food worker and send them to build a mining camp for gold. I'm gonna speed up the process again until feudal age. It is important to have good keybinds. For example, select either all military buildings or, for example, select all barracks, archer ranges or stables. Also, you can have select all economy buildings, select all upgrades, select your next religious building or dock or whatever. So there are plenty of keybinds that are very useful, even for buildings. Also for military as well. You can have select an idle unit, idle military unit, select all idle military units, select all cavalry on screen only, etc. That goes for everything, infantry, ranged units, siege. Some units get mixed up, for example, horse archers or whatever. So those units are a bit don't fall into a certain category sometimes, but it is what it is. Just keep it in mind that it is very good if you have a good understanding of how to efficiently control units and buildings. It takes off a lot of load from your brain to click on the screen here and there, you know, so it's very good if you start learning keybinds and just have a look around what is possible for you to make, to set up. Alright, So I have went with King's Abbey in this match against French, and what I'm going to do is make some cavalry for it and harass them. I'm not gonna make men-at-arms because knights are countering men-at-arms, but cavalry in general is a good way to harass your opponent because they are fast, and even if they get low they can just run away, especially horsemen. Knights are a bit slower than horsemen, but knights don't take heavy damage if horsemen are chasing them because their damage against knights are not the best. So I'm just causing some idle time for them, and it is being an AI, it just makes them go back. So I'm not gonna kill everything, that would be, I feel, a bit unfair. Rather, I'm still collecting my army, and as you can see, we have a king over here, which can cause them to heal. And also I'm dropping down a barracks because I'm expecting them to make knights. And if you have a harassment unit, like horses, you can also have a defensive unit at home, which is spearmen plus towers. And why is that? It's because spearmen are very effective against horses, but of course you're gonna run away from spearmen. So they are mostly utilized at home in the beginning until you have a good enough defense or whatever else that lets you not get hurt too much from the enemy raids and run-bys. So we're going to go two types of units in this game, mostly spearmen and horsemen just for raids to reduce the enemy's villager count. Since we also have access to healing due to King's Abbey, we try to minimize the damage we take in forms of lost units, because we can heal everything up to full HP once the fight is over. It's inevitable to lose some units though, so it's whatever. As you can see, it's a classic AI thing to do, that they are going to run back fully to their base when they sense that they cannot win the fight. Since the knights are leaving, we can pick off the spearmen, which is very good because our knights are going to be still a bit uncontested. I'm going to drop, as you can see, another barracks because our point with horsemen is not to make too much horsemen. Even with like 3 or 4 horsemen, you can have a very good raiding party. Your goal is to have a smaller raiding party and have a good amount of spears to counter his knights. Because you can deal damage even with like 5 horses, but having like 20 horses won't do you too much of an extra favor if he's going full knights and can destroy your whole army or whatever else. If you, for example, have 5 villagers and you assign them to build 8 farms, you can still use the select next woodworker option, for example, and just click on the mill and do it 3 times. So eventually you will have 8 villagers building that area. And building a mill with a villager or even a farm will make them instantly drop all their resources there, so don't worry about it. Now it's a problem because my units are rallying across the map, and that was a bit of an unlucky scenario. I'm going to try and minimize my damage taken by sending the horses home and leaving my 4 spearmen behind to die, because it's whatever. Since he is investing heavily in spearmen, I'm going to make men-at-arms. As you can see on the minimap, there is a forest right to my base, and he is sending some raiding units. So a bit of a micro incoming. I am selecting all my idle units and sending them here. This will be group 2. The horses on the north are group 4, and the spearmen on the right are just running from the opponent, so it's not really an issue of micro. So I wouldn't need to oversee these guys. They have focused out the knight, which is very, very good, so I can use the villagers to help them snipe. And I'm running away with the low HP unit, because I can heal them up. And I haven't paid attention here, so these guys just died. Now I must remake the king in order to have more heal than the building. I realize that I have enough stone for a second TC, so I'm looking for a spot to build it. And I have decided to put it near the gold in front of my base. I was contemplating the deer plus the gold on the right side as well, but it looked like it's a bit far away. I'm going to put these villagers in one control group because I want them to act on their own when these guys attack. I'm gonna try and hold these guys up and help him with the villagers, since they can snipe them as well on their own with their arrows. Very nicely cleaned up. He's sending a new wave of units, as you can see. So I'm still trying to recover my raiding forces as well, just as increasing my spearman plus man at arms count. But that's a lot of units, to be honest. So I shouldn't really engage in this, but it's whatever. Thankfully he turns around. But I think if he would turn around, he could just easily win this fight. He has a lot more than I could maybe take on. If he focuses out at least my horses, then he can still run. So if this would be a player, he would turn around and kill my horses probably. But if this would be a real player, I wouldn't poke these guys. Alright. So I'm going to redirect these units and make them go pay a visit to the gold miners. I'm trying to focus out the knights. And I'm going to make the spearmen go away. How I did that was I pressed the infantry button and I pressed tab, which cycles between sub-units of a group. So I had two types of units, spearmen and men-at-arms, so I just moved away the spearmen from the other spearmen. Why? Because attacking the men-at-arms makes them take a lot less damage than the spearmen because they are armored. And you can still order them back to go back and join the fight, I mean the spearmen. So it's just a matter of taking less damage than needed, than necessary. I made a mistake by idling this TC. As you can see, I'm just making one villager at this time, nothing else, which is a very big mistake by default, since my wood is starting to float a lot. But shortly I will have more than enough food, so yeah, I'm going to overdo food quite a lot now. I'm just enjoying some villager torturing here. He's still not making too much of an effort to save his villagers, but it's whatever, he's still having a good amount of resource lead, I think, compared to me. But not for long, since I'm pumping from 2 TCs and he's on 1 TC only. I should really go back with my units now, because they are heavily wounded. And as you can see, I'm pop-capped as well. So now that I'm running away, I don't need my attention on this area if I'm just running. So this is a mistake that I did there as well. Now I can just make some houses. And I would advise to make them in a reasonable place because I tend to place houses in random areas because I just want to make them quickly. As you can see, it doesn't hurt to have some towers here and there. They are mostly concentrated, so multiple towers can shoot in the same direction, in the same area. So it's not like a solitary tower just trying to shoot an oncoming raid, but multiple towers focusing their firepower. I'm wondering where to put my age up, because I have golds very far away. Again, I was considering the right side where there are deers and gold, but it's whatever. This is just AI, but against a player you could just put some soldiers to accompany the villagers and put the white tower on the right side, while going up and raiding with some horses or whatever to make sure that he's not even trying to search for your age up if it's far away from your base. These guys are almost destined to die. They are doing a lot of damage. And I'm idling my theses as well, but yeah, this is a type of moment that I'm a bit more occupied with my army than with my villagers. The white tower is doing wonders for me. And I should really put more people on gold now, because I need to upgrade a lot of stuff. I think I haven't even upgraded a single thing in this game. I mean, economically or military-wise in the blacksmiths. Because I think that having like plus 3 or 4 units is good for a long time. But of course, having plus 1 damage here, plus 2 damage there, or plus 2 armor here and there is permanent for all your future units. So it is also a fine line of when are you starting to add upgrades. Because until you have like just 10 or 12 units or whatever, or 20, having like plus 1 armor against a certain type, I don't think it helps too much. It is good when you have a comp like with China or Zushi that you're massing Zuganu, where plus 1 ranged damage goes a long way for them, because from I think 5 their damage goes to 6, which is like 20% damage upgrade, just because you have plus 1 damage. But if you're making, I don't know, let's say knights, their damage go from 20 to 21, it's not going to do anything for them, right? The importance of having a good scouting ability is to see that he has villagers on this gold, which means that I can harass him here, cause idle time or whatever. Obviously, men-at-arms are not going to catch up to villagers if they start running away, but still it's a good amount of idle time. Also, I have put down a monastery, if I have seen it correctly, yes. So shortly I will going to start collecting relics on my own as well. But I have a bit more on my plate than I can eat at the current second. Alright, these guys are coming home just to heal up. And since he is making men-at-arms and knights as well, crossbowmen will go a long way against them. When you want to collect relics, it's a very easy way on lower levels to just shift click back to your monastery and to the next relic, and back to the monastery, to the next relic and back to the monastery. Queue up these 6 commands, and then the prelate who is coming out of the monastery will just go and collect all 3 relics, one after the other. As you can see, I'm adding my TC again, but I also have tons of food, which is not good. I should have more people on gold because I need upgrades and I need gold units to deal with the current situation. This is what you call an excessive focusing on something that you shouldn't focus on too much. And I'm rallying 1 or 2 priests here to just heal up my army. I don't want to go back to King's Abbey. I have quite a good amount of workers now on gold, and I also have some traders queued up because I had that market there for a bit, but I didn't make any units out of it. So now my economy slowly should be good to have gold. This is a very bad attacking angle, as you can see, just running under the fortress. I'm losing my king, and almost a knight as well just to kill one villager. It wasn't a very good trade. Also, their traders are very slow, so even if you catch like some, you can just shift click them if you want, but I don't want to overstay my welcome. So I'm just gonna kill 1 or 2 villagers and I'm going to go out. As you can see, I'm pop capped again, but I didn't want to leave earlier than necessary. Now we can build houses though, that we have our attention again here, and we have enough gold to go H4. But where? And I have decided to go with the big gold because we have more than enough food. And we should secure the 8k gold more than that deer pack on the right or the board or whatever. I dislike building from the fortresses a bit because you need to press a certain button in order to have access to the unit production with English. But it is what it is. It seems like I couldn't get too many relics for myself. I only got 1, I think, in the end. So I'm not even going to upgrade that thing that costs me only 500 gold. And I just realized I made a huge mistake in this match. Because I'm adding these voiceovers after the match, not during the match. As you can see, I'm going to send in some sort of a raiding party again over there to thin out his villager count. It's good if you just generally move your units and then only after that you attack move there, because then they don't stop if they see an abandoned lumber camp or whatever else in the way that would alert the opponent to your incoming army. Or maybe they just don't engage if they see like 1 unit or 2 in the way. The mistake I was talking about just a minute earlier was that I forgot to research the upgrade at the mill that gives me gold for every workers that are on farms, which would give me an insane amount of gold income, but I forgot to do that, which is... yeah, whatever. Alright, so I'm just kind of trying to reduce his villager count at this point because we are both H4, so I'm not really sure how much resources is he ahead. He's still trading on a long distance, which should give him good income amount. I don't know why isn't he trying to attack my trade line or whatever else. He was really passive in this game. Now that I have realized that there is a revolt, and I'm like, alright, I'm gonna get out of here. That thing can destroy my whole raiding party in a second. I have decided to mine some stone because I want to drop a keep or two. You can see if I would have attacked move earlier, it would just turn them around and attack the knight instead of the villagers. I think I have a pretty good amount of villager lead by now because I have been producing out of 2 CC all the time and he was just 1 TC. Even though he has traders, it's whatever, it's not like he has 50 traders. And now I think I will have a convincing amount of lead. I should just try to break his base because he's not out of options, but sort of. He barely has anything on his base. I think he has maybe half of my worker count. So I'm just starting to make siege and close out the game. The amount of units I have, as you can see, I'm starting to be close to pop cap, while he is not. So this is the point in the game where I just go in and kill him, basically. But it's important not to drop your whole army away just because you want to kill kill some units, to kill some workers or raise a fortress. I'm gonna drop a keep here and just mine another set of stone, it's whatever. The more static defense you have after you're being pop capped, the better for you, the better the defense of your base, which is really good. I try to save that knight, but obviously hand cannons are gonna kill it. And now I have, yeah, I'm close to pop cap, so basically this game is pretty much over at this point. So I will just speed it up a bit for you. Here I'm giving orders to my trebuchets to kill the keep. And it's important to know some unit types what you're facing, because as you can see he has 2 revolt declines, those many phased cannons in the background. If you would run into that with melee units only, you would have a very sad time. They can devastate any melee comp, but they are very weak to ranged attacks, so I just use my ranged units to snipe them out. I'm playing it more safely than I should, but I'm just waiting for some units to arrive to be pop capped, so it's whatever. As you can see, with the fortress raised to the ground, there isn't much defense in his base left. So you can send 1 or 2 lonely knights to go and catch the traders or whatever, and just still keep your main army together while defending your siege engines to make sure that they are doing their job efficiently. He is just desperately trying to kill those 2 knights with villagers only. Alright, I have cut out 4 minutes from the video because this was just monotonous. So what you can also do sometimes is leave the range units behind because they don't deal too much damage to buildings, and just send forth your melee units to kill buildings. That way the range units can still help out with defending the siege engines, which is really good. Regarding of how the match starts, I'm already pressing the town center button when I'm loading in, pressing the villager button also. Then I'm selecting my next scout, sending him out on the map. Then selecting all my idle villagers, sending them to sheep. Select a food worker and just build a mining camp and a house. And of course the house one just gets shift clicked into the world. Also, I think it's very important to set up in the settings what type of camera movements you want to have. For if you want your TC to jump on the middle of the screen each time you press it, or you just select it and maybe queue up villagers from afar without having to manually route the camera all the time. You can shift click, queue up commands on the minimap as well, even attack commands. If you would, for example, want to move close to an opponent's gold and just attack it once you get close. With some military units, of course. Regarding unit selection, let's say this is your main army. You can have the on-screen horses, cavalry, in one group, and the on-screen infantry in another group. This way you control only these guys that are on the screen currently. You can also have a camera set point to where your rallies are, which means that you can send these guys to join your main army, for example. You can also have a button for selecting all idle units. You see this selects only a sofa, who is here being idle. These guys are not doing too much. You can use them as well to join the main army. If they would be elsewhere, for example, they just finished raiding a unit group here or whatever. This way you also prevent selecting some units who might be guarding your gold or who are severely damaged and are just chilling in the back of your base from sending them back to the front line. So there are a lot of really good keybinds for you to utilize. Another favorite of mine is select one idle unit. And then it could be even an infantry or a horse. But if you want to avoid sending infantry around, you can just tell them to take a walk, and then you can select your next idle unit and send them elsewhere. This way you can send, let's say, only cavalry to designated areas, for example, where the opponent's farms are or whatever. So you can utilize keybinds in a lot of ways for your advantage. So make sure that you think through what you need, what you don't need, and do yourself a favor and do your keybinds. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you have any recommendations for something to explain or maybe do a replay analysis or whatever else, then just feel free to write it in the comments and I will do my best to cover it for you. If not, then I will probably come up with another topic to talk about, to teach you about, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.